Okay, so the first question we have, this could be like the shortest focus group of all time, if there's only two. Um, can you hear us, Trevor?
There we go. Now I can hear you. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm pulling it up on my phone. I had to restart the app.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, you're okay we record this, right, Trevor?
Yeah. I'm perfectly fine.
Okay. All right. So the first question is then, um, I need you to tell me who you are, what you coach, what level you coach, and how long you've been coaching. And we'll start with James.
All right, so hey guys, name's James Langham. I coach football, and age range right now, I've lately been coaching basically middle school. I do have a coordinator position lined up at a high school right now, and I've been coaching for about off and on about 8 years.
Okay, Trevor.
My name is Trevor Rill. I coach competitive swimming. I have been coaching for about 10 years now. I coach ages basically 4 all the way through college.
Okay, Tyler.
Yeah, I'm Tyler Kazee. I coach football, basketball. This will be my first year doing track. I usually do soccer in the spring though. Um, I coach all these sports at the varsity level in high school, and I've been coaching for 5 years.
Okay, so Jonathan, the question is, what's your name? Um, what do you coach and at what level? And how long have you been coaching?
Jonathan Newman, right?
Yes.
I've been coaching astoundingly 30 years, and I have a soccer and tennis academy, and I coach right now. I have kids between the age of 5 and adults to as old as, let's see, Doc is 51. So my oldest student is 51, my youngest is 5. And I have pretty interesting, right? I have kind of an interesting situation. I substitute teach English at a Jewish, very conservative Jewish school and a very conservative Catholic school. And I'm setting up soccer programs for the entire school, both of those schools, which is exciting because I get to build the curriculum and write it up, as well as teach a class and start a soccer club after school. And these are really previews to building a team, and eventually neither school has competitive teams, and they have a soccer. Interestingly enough, what's really interesting about this school, both schools, is and you can imagine they're drastically different soccer culture. Meaning, when I go to either school, I see the kids in the recess and park in the soccer field area playing soccer, not necessarily coached, but supervised, and they prefer to play soccer. So that's quite exciting. So tennis academy, which I teach year round, private lessons, group lessons, and the school situation which I just described, which is a wonderful opportunity at this point.
Okay. And so the first question we have then is, when you were watching the All or Nothing videos, what did you see from the coaches that gave you insight into their core values? And anyone can go at any time, just try not to talk over each other.
Okay. First off, can I talk about Pep and the soccer videos?
You can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Okay, great. Be careful suggesting that to me because I'll talk way too much. Anyway, I really enjoyed Pep. I knew a little bit about him. The videos give you, I would say, something that you wouldn't ordinarily see. At least that's the opinion that I got from the All or Nothing videos. That we got an insight into the culture again of the team in the locker rooms especially. What I liked about Pep and found that a core value is he had enthusiasm. I mean, and you guys, I'm sure you would agree with this. If you don't, you can't give enthusiasm away without having it. In fact, the word means to give spirit, actually to have. What I was excited about with Pep is that he relates to he's very physical. If you noticed, he and grab their faces and pat their faces, and I think that's a very unusual talent to be that close to people and give them a inspiration. Now, but I will say this. On the same note, and I'm sure you saw this, I don't know how he did his
Hey, Jonathan, do you want to try turning your video off and see whether that cleans up the audio?
Right? To show. Can you hear me all right? Hello?
I think that's better. If you turn the video off at your end, maybe it'll clean up the audio.
Okay. Little. I'll try to do that. Wait. Little higher volume. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, it's really that it's breaking up, Jonathan. So maybe if you make it so that you're not streaming the video.
Okay. Do that now. Hold on.
Just click on the little. Just click on the picture of the camera that's at the top of the picture, so where it says mute video.
How's that now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. What I was interested in. Okay, so basically I was very enthused about Pep because he had that ability to be enthusiastic and to project that to his players. Also, though, I find him he's, everybody says he's a genius, which I'm sure he is, reading what he's written and whatnot, and information about him. He's very smart. What I thought was very difficult for me to follow was the way that he coached using the whiteboard and the magnets. He would be so quick that I couldn't follow him. And that maybe just because of the audio visual. Anybody have any about that? I don't know.
Okay. Anybody else? So, Rashad, the question is, what did you see in the videos that gave you insight into the core values of the coaches?
What I saw was the soccer coach. The core values was him building rapport with his players. Him being very abstract in his teaching, like he said, like the other guy said, he was using the whiteboard. I've never seen with the magnets. I've never seen that. Very animated, very eager to get his players to learn the game, trying to play it the right way. But most of all, just generally caring for his players, giving good instructions, just being hands-on much as possible with this group.
Yeah, and they were both very passionate about their sport. They knew they were knowledgeable about their sport. They loved their sport, and they wanted their players to have that same passion for the sport, to go out there, try and be competitive with everyone, compete for championships, just strive to be the best that they can.
And also, to add on to that, I like how he included his coaching staff. Um, that is like, to me, the number one cause of error of most head coaches, especially at my level. Some head coaches are pretty big-headed and cocky and think they can do it on their own and their idea is the best way. I think you're as good as a head coach as your assistants. If your assistants can give you another insight, another set of eyes, another set of ears, and another mouth on what they see and what's going on, and can have big rapport with the players, I think that is very vital and huge to have. I was fortunate to be on a coaching staff prior to my head coaching position that we all got along and we all gave good ideas, good insights to our head coach, and we won a state championship doing that. So I think that was really neat that he included everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, could I speak?
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead. Well, what I was amazed at is, for instance, it was brought out in the video. Can you guys hear me okay now?
A little bit.
Kinda.
Okay, I'm trying to work on this. It's ironic because this thing usually works great. What was interesting about that is he had a particular coach that did just investigating and you could say scouting his other teams and really researching the other teams before they played them. Is very different than Premier Soccer. So it's really important that Pep knew the coach's team for each situation. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, and something that I know we've been kind of focusing on Pep, but something that I really noticed was with the All Blacks players and the All Blacks coach. I mean, he basically said, "Look, we're the best team in the world. We need to be the best team in the world in order for us to continue to win championships." And that's basically the expectation that he said at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of follow up on that, and I think both coaches did an amazing job of just being straightforward with their players. Up front, this is what our expectation, this is what our goals are. And, as the season went on, just reevaluating and being like, look, this is where we're at. This is where we still need to do. Relaying that information to their players in an open way, but also in a way of ensuring their comprehension. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand that this is why we're doing this? And then if this is happening, for instance, let's say a specific drill or a specific situation in the game, what are you supposed to do? Do you know where you're supposed to be? And really just following up to making sure they know what they're doing. And to me, as a coach, I think that's one of the best things you could do is really make sure you're asking them so your players are telling you. So you're not always just dictating. You're ensuring that they're understanding what you're saying. And I think both coaches did an amazing job of doing that.
Definitely. If I could comment on that too, the culture, the personalities, two coaches drastically different. And still, they could have each one of them has their special way of managing and also leading the team by example. What I found about Steve Hansen, is the All Blacks coach, is, for one thing, right now, I don't know if you guys did this research, but he's the winningest coach in rugby history. Now, but here's the other part, is the All Blacks are the winningest team in rugby history. But the difference in this situation is what I grasped too is, I didn't grasp this at first, but the All Blacks are akin to our national Olympic team. It would be the same thing. Like we don't have a national football competition and represent New Zealand. So it's like there's a patriotic, and you could see that in the ceremonies before the games and That's what I found interesting. I don't know if you guys could speak to that at all.
It was crazy that All Blacks team and the coaching staff and the coach really remind me a lot of the New England Patriots. Just do your job type thing. No charisma, no lovey dovey, no building rapport. It's either you do your job or we're gonna find somebody to do your job for you. So I like that approach.
Oh, yes.
That's not the kind of way I coach. I like to build rapport and get to know my players, but I'm trying to be versatile and be more oriented of, hey man, you need to do your job. I know I like you as a person, but I don't want to get to a point where kids are more leaning like, hey, but we're cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're friends. No, we're not friends. I'm your coach and you're the player. I expect you to be a model citizen, and I'm going to show you how to be a model citizen. But then again, you got to deal with life, and life is going to hit you. You better do your job. If you're not, you're going to get fired. So I like the approach by the All Blacks. It's a little different from my style, but I like it.
All right. So the next question is then, so what did you see from the coaches in how they motivated their players to have the behaviors that they wanted them to have?
Like R2D2.
I can relate to this.
Hello, Jonathan.
Oh, we lost him.
Okay.
Lost him again. Oh, he's back.
Okay. Anybody else?
So,
I think oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tyler. You're good.
All right, so I think part of the way that they motivated them was with competition. I think that always motivates athletes when they know someone's right there behind them to take their job if they don't do what they need to do. And they did a good job of having young athletes behind these veteran players that had the skills to step up and take their position in the All Blacks. They actually did that. One of the young players stepped up. They put him in for a veteran player, and he went in and dominated. I mean, he did really good. I think that's one of the best ways that they use to motivate their players.
Could I mention something, Stephen?
Can mention whatever you want.
Yeah, what I found incredibly motivating was, and I'd like to adopt it, to be honest with you, for my teams, and is the haka. Oh my gosh, I thought that was so wonderful. What the heck's?
Yeah, so I know, Tyler, you kind of said this, and I was just going to basically say the same thing as you did, but also just the level of the level of competition that you're at, that motivates your players as well. I mean, at least from my experience, I know swimming is more of an individual versus a team sport, but basically you got the best rugby players, the best soccer teams in the world that you're playing against. So you're forced to play at that level, or else they will find somebody to replace you to play at that level.
Plus, there has to be some self-motivation there anyways to get to that level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, this is Tyler. The more, the better you play, the better players you get to play with, and that makes it more fun. I mean,
Right.
You don't want to play with a bunch of rookies.
Right.
Right. I think it is also, the ideal
Representing
the whole next man up kind of thing. I think encourages everybody to kind of step up and say,
Mm-hmm.
everybody there is at a high level of play. They're all, at that professional level. I mean, it's I like you. You're my teammate. You're my friend. I'm gonna help you out. But at the end of the day, I want to start. I want to be the guy. So I'm
Hmm.
gonna push that much harder to be that guy. And I think the coaches really did a good job of kind of encouraging that kind of mentality in two different ways, obviously. But they
Hmm.
both went about it in a way of like saying, this is anybody's, spot. Just because you've been here doesn't mean much. One guy built a little more rapport. The other guy, like you were mentioning, had a little more of a Belichick-ish kind of mentality to him. But at the end of the day, it was still the same overall demeanor of you're going to work hard, you're professionals, you're the best in the
Hmm.
world. Now let's go out there and do it day in and day out in practice and in the games, and let's make it happen.
Yeah.
I think
There
the level of the difference in those two teams, though, is that, like somebody else mentioned, was the fact that it's a periodic activity for the New Zealand players, and I did a little research on the Pacific Islander Aborigine influence, which is great on those teams. Players from Samoa and Polynesia have a great cultural influence on those teams, which also adds to the patriotism and the nationalistic view of the team.
I don't know if you guys caught there was a Manchester team, but I was looking at the coach, and he was, kind of basically saying stuff like he knows the game of soccer, but he says sometimes he doesn't always know the answers, but he says it so passionate and he does it so passionately where his players believe what he says and they try to go mimic what he's told them to do. And I think that's pretty vital for motivation, to get your players to believe in what you want them to do, even sometimes if you question your own motives of what you think your players should do. I think that's big time motivation right there.
Agreed.
Did anybody else see the haka? Did you know what that was? The haka?
It's a New Zealand war chant, and it's for culture.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Big
I know
big time motivation.
when I coached up in Alaska, we had plenty of Pacific Islanders and Samoans, and it's their culture. It's their, it goes way back with them. It's, not just athletics, but it's part of their, identity.
Hey, you from Alaska? I'm
Very
from
cool.
Alaska.
Oh yeah, man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Anchorage. I'm from Anchorage.
Yeah, I lived up there for 2 years, coached football up there too. So it's a beautiful place, man.
Oh yeah. Born and raised, man. Yeah.
There we go, brother.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question then is, what did you see the coaches do to inspire their athletes?
Well, in Pep's case, if I could speak to that, in Pep's case, he's got that enthusiasm, very inspirational. He's a winner. He has a very expectations, and I like this. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the law of attraction, but that is like this: is if you get what you expect, and um, makes a difference. Made a difference in that respect.
Paying close attention to the Manchester coach, the way he inspired his players is building that rapport. One thing I liked that he did after every victory, he hugged every player and told them congratulations and how well they did, including his coaching staff. For me as a player, I love the fact that my coaches care, especially how I played. Um, Even when we didn't play well, he was always inspiring, trying to, lift him up and get him out of the bad spirit and say, hey, we got to go back to the drawing board, figure this thing out, and keep moving. But I think the rapport. I think that's a big thing in coaching that coaches must have with their players in order to inspire them to get your kids to run through a wall for you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he truly did care. They were talking at one point in the video about having to cut a player or trade a player, and it pretty much devastated him. And you could tell that he was truly hurt by having to cut that player because he understood how much work and effort it took to get to that point. And I mean, just how much he cared about the player that he cut. So you can only imagine how much he cares about the players that he kept.
Even the
Right.
players that got hurt too.
Yeah, right.
I think you could also look at, the other coach that coached the All Blacks, and I think the situation where his inspiration for them was his telling them, from the get-go, like, you guys have a target on your back, but at the end of the day, like, this is, a sport for many people, but for you guys, it's the country. The country is literally behind you. You have an image to live up to. You guys are here for a reason. We need to go out there every single week and show that and fight for it and fight for each other, but realize that the country and the people, like, you're carrying them on your back, and we're going to go out there and we're going to do this because we should be able to do this, and having that, kind of inspiration of not just like internally, but an extrinsic motivation there as well, an outside force of saying like, yeah, we're gonna bring each other up. We're gonna fight for more than just ourselves and more than just for this team, and we're gonna go out there and win.
Definitely. I think I was very encouraged by Pep's or the Manchester City's, and they made allusion to this. They had recruited that one back, and his name slips my mind. Something like I can't remember it right now. But he was an amazing defender, tremendous player, obviously very very good player, and he got hurt early. But they kept going back and checking up on him in the films as to see how he was doing, and he still was connected to the team. I think that is outstanding, because a lot of teams would just write off a player. Well, he's hurt and he's out of the picture. But they didn't do that at all. They really stuck with him and not just rehabilitated him physically, but I would say spiritually or emotionally. Well,
Okay, so let me ask you the next question then. So the next question is, what did you see the coaches do to intellectually stimulate their players?
Ask that question again, please.
What did the coaches do to intellectually stimulate their players?
Um, that's kind of a hard question because I didn't see a whole lot of that going on. But one thing I did see from the Manchester coach was he said he was like a brother, father, teacher. He said he was everything, and he said like when the guys come and ask him questions about life, he would try to answer for them. So to me, there was more intellect that I think he was trying to draw into them, to help them along the season and their life. You know what I'm saying, with soccer and life. That's as far as what I saw. I didn't see a whole lot of other stuff other than dealing with the sport.
Yeah, and something that I noticed, and just jumping off your back, Rashad, something that I noticed the Man City coach do, just with his one-on-one confrontations and talking with his players, he was able to really just explain to them what was going on, what his expectations were, and really made them criticize themselves and look at what they're doing in order to basically make them adjust to the style of soccer that he wants them to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was mentioned earlier, but I mean, when he was using the magnets and the whiteboard, I mean, he was doing that super quick, so those athletes
Yeah.
had to be really paying attention, focused to what he was saying, following along with every movement because it was really quick. And then
Hmm.
also there were times where they were watching film, going over things. So that's another way that he stimulated intellectually.
The
I think we can also look at. Go ahead, Jonathan.
sorry, the Pep's team, Manchester City. What the research that I've done and what they alluded to was the players actually mentioned this. There was two or three players at least two players that mentioned there's a way that Pep wants us to play, expects us to play, which is different than they had played before, because those particular two players were in the Premier League, meaning they were playing the bridge derogatory, but it's a very long ball, kick and run type of soccer. The Barcelona type soccer, which Man City was introducing basically, and I've been talking to some people that I know, and they say, well, actually the entire league is changing in that direction anyway at this point. But it's a more international style. You could tell that there was that intellectual inference from those two or three players that mentioned this is a new way to play and it's different. It's changing for us. I mean, that's what I caught.
Yeah, to elaborate what you're saying, Jonathan. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, James. My bad.
No, Rashard. Go ahead, finish, because mine's going to be on the other one. So.
Oh, I was about to say, like the new style of play. I'm a basketball coach, and like soccer, with basketball, they're implementing moving the ball. Like I heard in the All of Nothing that they broke records that they made over 500 passes in one game. That's crazy. I mean, that's unbelievable. And to try to get a gist of your players to say, hey, we're gonna move the ball like 100 times before we take a shot at the goal. I'm pretty sure they're like looking at him like, what? But I mean, that takes a lot of time, a lot of preparation to get them to understand that. And it's not just transcending in soccer; it's transcending in basketball too. Golden State Warriors is a prime example of that. San Antonio Spurs is a prime example of that. So it's trending through all the sports.
That's true. I do want to touch on the other one too, just so we're not all on one side. So in
Yeah.
reference to the All Blacks, I think one of the things they really did, coach there did really good, stimulating their intellect is really, as he was in practice. I don't know if you all noticed, but a lot of the practice as the season went along, it was like, all right, you know what, let's stop what we just did. What did you just do? Like asking a player, like, why did you go here instead of going there? Why did you run outside, or why did you not go that way? Why did you not pass? Like your pass was lazy, or it was not, it was off point, and really having them think about it. Okay, wait, why did I do that? What did I just do in that situation? And really try to answer it. So instead of like I said earlier, instead of dictating, he was kind of guiding it to it. But then also like when they would say something, and realizing, okay, I get why you did this, but this is what you need to do in this situation because if not, this is what happens. So I really think in that respect, from the mindset of like game planning or situational planning, stimulating their intellect to really think for themselves in that moment of knowing the right thing to do and kind of changing bad habits, I guess you could say, of
Yeah,
doing what they were doing, which wasn't working.
excellent point.
Okay, so what did the coaches do that showed consideration for their athletes?
The Manchester coach was very hands-on with that athlete that got hurt, where he tore his ACL. He was very, very much involved with the whole situation with that. Went to the hospital, checked up on him, even during the season when he was going through his rehab, allowing him to be around the team and showing him just the same amount of love when he was 100%. That's what I saw from the Manchester coach.
Yeah, and something that I noticed, not just with the Manchester City coach, but also with the rugby coach, he was Yeah, he was tough. Yeah, he was hard, but you could generally care the way that he talked to his players and the way that he interacted with his players. That he cares about you. Yeah, he'll cuss you out, but he cares about you as well.
Yeah, and
Agreed. I think
when players got hurt, they didn't force them out there. I see a lot of times someone in football gets a concussion. Oh, it's no big deal. Go back out there. No, when someone got a concussion, they brought them off the field and got them the treatment that they needed, uh, not pushing them to the point where they could never play again.
Yeah.
agreed, and I think both coaches, did a great job of that, especially like when there was injuries. They really did like, all right, we need to get them the treatment. We need to take them off the field,
Hmm.
and we're going to shut them down to make sure that it isn't just this game. It's the season, and it's also their careers and their life after their career. And I think both did an amazing job of making sure that like their well-being was the number one thing in that
Yeah.
respect whenever something did happen. And then I think, the All Blacks coach did a great job when there was, older players on the team and making sure that they had their rest, they had their time off because their
Oh
bodies were
yeah.
obviously taken
Yep.
much at that point, and did
Yep.
a great job of, understanding that because as a coach, it's hard when you have a lot of different ages and levels of being like, okay, I'm going to give them time off or I'm not going to give them time off. So he did a really good job of really, spacing that out and making sure that he understood where they were at in their careers. They understood like, hey, they can do that and still be okay, but it's also so they can actually last the entire season.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so are there any other things that you picked up on that you would like to mention?
One thing that I saw the All Blacks do as far as intellectual coaching was, I don't know if you guys remember, they brought in a coach to teach them the scrum. And I found what was very interesting between the two sports was that and I've never seen a lot of rugby before. So very curious with differences in rules and tactics between that and American football. Because of the rules of the ball not going dead and having to hit those field goals, as well as to keep pitching the ball with lateral passes, that they would use the winger on the left side. Very interesting. But even more than that was the idea that the tactics you could would lend itself to a lot of intellectualism, you could say, of the game of strategy, which made it very interesting. In that respect, the scrum is very important. Now, I don't know a lot about it because I haven't played the game, but I found that, as everybody else see that, and they brought in this scrum coach that Dr. Scrum. Very interesting. The thing that I found very interesting and thought-provoking was, and somebody else mentioned about this, was let's put it this way: the thing that I didn't see that I wanted to see more of was the actual physical training of the teams, especially rugby. And I wanted to, it left me with a curiosity. And there again, and I assume that's the purpose of the videos, to cause us to want to do more research. But I didn't see what I'd like to have seen, and it left me with a curiosity. Be how do you train, rugby players at that level? Obviously, to look at the guys, they are obviously very strong, very big, very tough physically, as well as very fast, And anyway, I do understand that so the sport requires certain specific type of physical training. I would have liked to seen that more. I don't know if anybody else has that same curiosity.
Okay. All right. Let me stop the recording then.